Welcome to Calming Gentle Flow. We'll get started in a seat of your choice. If you did choose a cross-legged seat, make sure to take note of which leg you have on top. That'll come in handy for later. Find some balance. Feel free to let the eyes fall closed or have a gentle gaze at the ground in front of you. And begin to notice your breath. As you arrive in your space, take some time to notice any physical messages that your body is trying to send you. And as you bring the attention to your breath, see where you can feel it. Is it coming through in your ribs or in your chest? Or maybe you feel it maybe in your throat or in your nose. As you focus on your breath, see if you can elongate your inhalations and your exhalations. Keeping the crown floating above your tailbone, nice tall spine. Breathing primarily through your nose. And as you elongate your breath, decide if you'd like to welcome in a pause. You can pause at the top after you inhale for just a short moment, exhale, and you can pause at the bottom if you'd like, holding your breath for 1 or 2 seconds. Cycle this pranayama with your own natural anatomy and see if you can keep a steady, smooth length balanced with your inhale and your exhale. In today's practice, I invite you to move with grace. See if your movements can be rooted in love and not force. And as you settle in to your breath, you can allow your inhalations and exhalations to come naturally. And give a gentle tuck to your chin, keeping a nice tall spine so that you feel a bit of a stretch down maybe the back of your neck or down your trapezius. And working with your breath, gently shifting your chin in a semicircle from one shoulder to the other, working some space into your shoulder blades. If you haven't already, you can gently blink the eyes open. Keep your gaze soft on the ground in front of you as you rock your head gently back and forth. And bring the chin back to center and lift the crown back over your spine. And we'll take the right ear to the right shoulder, feeling the expansion across the left side of the neck. If this feels nice to you and you'd like to take it further, you can take your right hand and just rest it gently on top of your head, allowing the weight of your arm and gravity to work into this stretch with you. And eventually releasing the palm back down to your thigh and bringing the chin back to center. And taking the left ear towards the left shoulder. Keeping a nice, slow, steady breath through your nose, finding the expansion through your trapezius. And again, maybe bringing that left palm on top of the temple. Trying not to pull the head, just like gravity work with your anatomy, with your spine. And when you're ready, releasing the palm, bringing the neck back to center. And we'll take our wrists out in front of the body to touch. And making circles, rolling the wrists just so that the wrists are the only point touching here. Bending at the elbows as you need to, letting them come wide and narrow. Whatever your arms do naturally to work this circle through your wrist here. And eventually finding stillness and reversing the current. Making any notes of how it feels differently in each direction. And eventually finding stillness, and we'll bring our palms to Anjali Mudra at heart center. Find a nice heavy seat. Feel a long spine with your crown lifted. And with your thumbs at your sternum here, with your inhale, lifting the chest into the thumbs. And with your exhale, we'll turn our pointer, or we'll turn our fingers towards the front of our space, pressing the bottoms of the hands together, working through our triceps and biceps. And when you're ready, we'll turn our fingertips towards our heart center. And if this feels good to you, you can welcome in a lift to the elbows as your shoulders rest down your back body. And with your exhale, bringing the palms back to heart center, Anjali Mudra. And pressing the palms together as we draw a line up through the center of our space. And eventually opening the palms. And exhale to press the air down around your body. And we'll roll over our knees to come to tabletop. So if you have anything up under your seat, go ahead and remove that. Coming to hands and knees, you can actually take the hands a little bit further ahead of you than you normally would. Give a little extra space. Maybe rock the hips back and forth. Maybe pulling the hips towards the front and back of your space. If you'd like to draw circles with your shoulders. Wherever you are, make sure you do everything in both directions, pausing to reverse your rotation. And eventually coming to stillness, and we'll align with our wrists underneath our shoulders, point your fingers pointing forward, and our knuckle pads pressing into the ground. And the tops of the feet pressing into the ground so hard that maybe your shins lift off the ground for maybe 2 inches or so. We'll just take a breath here, finding engagement in your upper body, in your core. Stay for the exhale. We'll inhale and release the shins back to the mat on the exhale. And we'll work through some small cat-cows. Now that we've got a little bit of heat, maybe just the tailbone lifts with your inhale. And then the tailbone curls under as you exhale. Try to keep your shoulders as still as possible, working through just the lower spine. As if you have a zipper going up through your core, up the spine. And once you find some warmth in that area, maybe switching to the top of the spine, inhaling to lift the gaze gently, And exhaling to press the mat away and round through your shoulders, trying to keep the tailbone end still this time as we work with our breath. Little subtle movements in each vertebrae, trying to isolate the upper half of the spine. And eventually coming to a neutral spine, and we'll work with the entire body. As we inhale, let the belly drop, the tailbone rises, the gaze lifts. And exhale to curve into the spine, the whole back. Inhale, and with your breath, work through your cat-cow. And if you'd like to just take a focus on one section isolated like we were doing before, that's more than welcome. This is your yoga, your practice. We'll inhale to find a neutral spine. And with the exhale, press your hips back. We'll sit on our feet and we'll take a child's pose. You can keep your palms engaged by pressing the fingertips into the mat above you. And as we settle into Balasana, you are welcome to welcome in a mantra or an affirmation for your practice. Or if you would like to follow along with mine, you can repeat to yourself, I allow myself to move with grace. I honor my body with every movement. And give yourself permission to return here to Balasana Child's Pose anytime you find yourself needing to connect to your breath or just listen to your heartbeat. Allow this to be a place of comfort, rest, and reset. We can bring our palms under the shoulders, pressing into the palms to come through tabletop. Take an inhale in tabletop, tucking the toes. Use your entire exhale to press the hips up into the sky. Coming into downward facing dog, nice and slowly, keeping the heels lifted if you'd like, allowing the tailbone to lift, and then eventually lowering one heel at a time. Pedaling through those feet, finding a nice extension across each leg. And eventually finding stillness, pressing the mat away with the pointer finger knuckles, rolling those armpits under towards your ears. You can take a cleansing breath together if you'd like, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And with your inhale, lifting the right heel behind you, keeping those hips nice and square, three-legged dog. We'll take a few breaths, finding our alignment, feeling the engagement through both palms, across the entire left foot, up through the left leg. Take an inhale here. And with your exhale, just bend the knee into your belly. Try not to shift your shoulders at all. And we'll hold this for our inhale. And with your exhale, we'll pull our weight over our shoulders as if we were going into plank, keeping that heel lifted. Exhale here. And with your inhale, we'll go back to three-legged dog. Push that heel back behind you and then lower it down for downward facing dog. We'll take a couple of breaths to recenter here. Breathing into your lungs, feeling a nice long extended spine. Feeling those pointer finger knuckles active in the ground. When you're ready with your next inhale, we'll lift the left heel behind your body. Not too high, keep those hips squared down, keep those toes pointing towards the ground. And pressing the ground away with your palms, feeling the entire right foot engaged, supporting your weight. We'll take an inhale here. And with your exhale, bringing the knee into the belly, keeping the shoulders where they are. We'll inhale. And with your exhale, shifting the weight up into a plank type position, keeping that foot lifted for the inhale. With your exhale, pushing the heel back behind you in three-legged dog and lowering that foot back down for downward facing dog. And we'll go ahead and lower the heels, press the hips back. For child's pose, Balasana, you can bring the hands around to hold the heels, maybe rock back and forth. And see what you can notice in your body. What feels different in this child's pose versus the first one that we just had. And when you're ready, we'll take our palms underneath the shoulders. Pressing through tabletop. We'll inhale to tuck the toes. Exhale to lift the hips up and back for downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here. And when you're ready, we'll take the right foot and step it between our palms and lower the left knee down to the mat. If you'd like to grab your blocks while we come into this Anjaneyasana, you are more than welcome to do so. We'll keep them right next to our foot. You can untuck your left toes if you'd like. Pressing the ground away or the blocks to find a nice long spine. Breathing here. If you'd like to stay here, that's more than welcome. Or if you would like to take a few breaths in full crescent, you can tuck those back toes, lift the knee, and eventually see if you can release those fingers from the block, keeping your pelvis tucked, full body engagement, wherever you are. See if you can traction your right heel towards your left hip. We'll inhale to take the arms up overhead, finding full body engagement in the back of the right thigh and the front of the left leg. Breathe here. And with your exhale, we'll plant the hands and plant that left knee. You can still use your blocks if you'd like, or you can move them to the side to plant the hands. Tucking the left back toes, we'll go straight up to three-legged dog. So with grace, you can inhale here, and with your exhale, press the ground away and lift the heel gently behind you. We'll take an extra breath here, toes pointing down, and lower that foot back to downward dog. Take 3 smooth breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Pressing the ground away, feeling those elbow, eye creases pointing forward, and the heels pulling towards the ground as your tailbone lifts. And when you're ready, we'll take the left foot and plant it between the hands. Lowering the right knee down, find your blocks for Anjaneyasana. Finding your squared hips, nice long spine. You can untuck the back toes if you'd like. Finding your heels in line with your hips. Feeling the zipper up through your core. If you'd like, you can tuck those back toes back under, lift the knee for crescent lunge. See if you can hover the fingertips. And again, traction that left heel into the ground towards your right hip. Wherever you are, see if you can inhale the arms up overhead. Finding your gaze on one point to help you balance. We'll inhale here and exhale to plant the hands. If you'd like to use blocks, that's fine. You can lower the knee and take your time to move with grace. Back to three-legged dog at your own pace with your own breath, tucking the toes with your inhale and exhale to gently lift that heel straight behind you. An extra breath for posterity, flexing the toes down, and exhale to lower the foot, downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths with yourself. And on your next exhale, we'll rise all the way up on our toes, on the balls of your feet, tippy toe up to your hands. And eventually you can find a nice bend to your knees. Find a nice wide forward fold. If you'd like to walk your heels out as wide as your mat, that's welcome. If you'd like to rock your hips back and forth, nod your head, maybe hold opposite elbows. Let your low spine release wherever you are. See if you can breathe into that space between your pelvis and your spine. We'll take an inhale together and exhale completely. And very slowly, planting those feet nice and firm, we can roll up through the entire spine, taking as much time as you need, tucking the tailbone first, and then following with the ribs and the chest and rolling the shoulders back. You can find yourself in Tadasana with the feet at hips distance apart. If you'd like to take a soft gaze, or you can let the eyes fall closed, we'll lift and spread those toes. Just take a few breaths, arrive in this standing position. Whole new perspective, and still coming from grace. You can gently blink the eyes open and find your drishti. Find your spot that you would like to focus on as we work on our balance. And we'll take our weight into our right foot. And staying parallel at first, coming to the toes of the left foot, you can bring your palms to your hips to keep them level. Coming to the toes of the left, eventually you can find the bottom of the left foot on the right shin, and working your way up in tree pose. As always, if you'd like to reach down with your hand to help that foot walk up your thigh, and pressing your foot into your thigh here. Yogi's choice for your arms, if you'd like to take them straight out to the side, or maybe up in a open V with the pinky edge of the fingers pointing inward, ready to receive our light of grace. And coming from love and not force, seeing if you can gently release your foot back to the ground. And we will take that on the other side, bringing all of your weight into the left foot, lifting and spreading those toes. Create a nice solid foundation as you come to the tippy toes of the right, and eventually letting that bottom of the right foot rest on the shin, starting parallel at first so that your hips stay even. Eventually turning out if you can, maybe giving some assistance from the upper body. Find that drishti, press into the big toe of your standing foot and pressing the bottom of your foot into your thigh, finding arms of choice. If you'd like to eventually work to open arms, ready for love, and with grace, allowing the foot to release from the thigh and come to the ground with your own time. And we'll go ahead and take an inhale to scoop the arms up overhead, and exhale to send the heart forward and hips back. We'll inhale for a half lift and plant those hands and step back into plank. And lower down, your choice, knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. We'll take a little vinyasa through your back bend of choice. Returning to downward facing dog. And making your way to a seat. If you like to jump through, step through, whatever works best in your body today. And we will come to a patch. I'm going to say it wrong if I try to say the Sanskrit, so we'll just call it a forward fold. Feet can be at hips distance or wherever you like. You can bend at the knees if you'd like more of a focus in the low back. Walking those palms down the legs as far as you can. Wherever you land, you should be happy with yourself. Inhale to pull the chest forward. Exhale to release the crown, keeping engagement through the legs and through the core. If you can, continue to pull your chest forward with each inhale, making space with each exhale. Inhaling with your own breath, expanding through your own body, allowing for some fluid movement here. And with your next exhale, we'll release, lifting the crown overhead. And we'll bring our feet to the mat, bending at the knees, and we'll roll down to our backs. And bring your right heel to your left knee for a figure 4 stretch. So you can gently press your right knee forward, making sure your hips are nice and even on the ground. And eventually you can lift that left foot to bring that knee into your chest so that you can stretch across the right leg. Take a few breaths here. Finding some stillness, finding peace within your being. And with your exhale, we'll release the left foot back to the mat. And keeping the figure 4, we'll gently lift our hips to the right and let our right foot fall to the ground on the left side body so that we're coming into a figure 4 stretch. And if this doesn't feel good for you, you're welcome to just stack your thighs for a spinal twist. Allowing the shoulders to come back to the ground. If you'd like, you can bring your left hand onto the right thigh and gently press it away. Seeing where you can create a little bit of space in that side body. Using some muscle engagement in your shoulder and arms. See if you can release all of the engagement through your right pelvis and your right low back. We'll take a cleansing breath together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And if you were pressing your thigh away, go ahead and release that. Using your abs or the assistance of your hands, lift the figure four back upright and then release the right heel to the mat. Bring your hips back to center and bring your right or your left heel to your right knee. Press that left knee gently away, recenter your pelvis, recenter your hips. Pick up the right foot, bring it into your chest with the help of your hands. So you find that stretch along the back of the left leg, maybe in the low back, maybe in your knee, depending on what we do during our day. This is going to be different for each of us. Finding stillness. And with grace, we'll go ahead and lower the right heel back to the mat. Gently lift the hips to the left 2 inches and let that left heel fall to the right side body. Finding this figure four twist. Centering the shoulders and maybe taking the right palm to press into the left thigh. Tractioning into the pelvis here. Gently pulling our femur away from that SI joint. It gets so tight throughout our days. No matter what you do, you probably have tight SI joints. See if you can take all of your strength from your right arm and release any muscle tension in your left leg. Send your breath down into that hip. And we'll take a cleansing breath together, in through the nose and out through the mouth. And using your muscle engagement of your choice, lifting the knee back to center, lowering the left foot to the ground, centering your hips. And maybe you give a gentle windshield wiper to the knees. Give yourself a little sacral massage, letting the heels gently walk their way forward. So eventually the backs of your legs are on the ground and you're just rocking your toes. Maybe you rock your toes up and down a little bit. Roll your head side to side. Give yourself some movement as you come into Shavasana, allowing the knees to spread as wide as you like. Welcoming in stillness as you settle in. Maybe you close your eyes. Releasing any tension in your breath. Coming back to our mantra, I allow myself to move with grace. Allowing your attention to shift inward, keeping it in the present moment. Softening through the knees and down the legs. Feeling your skull heavy in the ground as you become one with the earth. And for Shavasana, I would like to share a reading. Settle in the here and now. Reach down into the center where the world is not spinning and drink this calming peace. Feel relief flood into every cell. Nothing to do, nothing to be, but what you already are. Nothing to receive, but what flows effortlessly from the mystery into form. Just this breath, awareness, waking up to truth. As you allow your body to gently wake up, you can expand your lungs with your breath, or maybe trace your thumb along your fingertips, pointing and flexing your toes, maybe rolling through the ankles, bending at the knees, rocking the knees back and forth, eventually rolling to one side, as if you're moving through Jell-O with every ounce of grace, coming up to a slow seated position. And as we find our seat, remembering our crossed leg from the beginning of class, let's take the opposite cross. And pulling the flesh away from the sitting bones. Keeping a gentle gaze, or the eyes can remain closed. We'll inhale to take the arms up overhead. And exhale to draw a line down the center of our bodies. Keeping the palms at heart center, feeling this physical connection. You can take an inhale to lift the chest into the thumbs, and an exhale to bow your chin in gratitude to yourself for taking this time to move with grace. Settle in and take some notes. Have a drink of water and have a beautiful day.